We will call the meeting to order. Take roll, please, Jen.
Commissioner Corbin?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Waldner? Commissioner Thorne?
Here.
Mayor Lindsay?
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no appearances, is there anything on the consent calendar anyone wants to remove?
Need a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no old business, under new business, authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with East River Electric Power Cooperative on network transmission service. And Brad, would you want to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of the transition from the previous situation where we had Western Area Power and Heartland operating the integrated system along with Basin, but primarily in our area had been Western Area Power and Heartland. And then taking from their node to our town gate service from East River, that has now transitioned over to part of that being part eligible for the SPP transmission tariff. And so the rate was changed and that segment was pulled out of the rate that we currently pay. And so this is the agreement that takes into account that change in rate for that transmission service over that segment that we're still doing. And the rest of it's gonna be through SPP, and that's under a separate situation, and we're being billed through Heartland for that. So this is just a change due to a portion of East River's transmission system being part of SPP, and then this is for the rest of it, non-eligible portions.
Okay. And weren't there some other things in there too that dealt with replacement of equipment if we had a disaster or something like that? And
There were several different things that we had some questions on. Met with Jeff Rood from East River and had a good conversation with him about different things. The bulk of this agreement is the same agreement that they had written up for every community that was on one of their transmission lines. And so the possibility of changing it was rather remote. We discussed what some of those things might be, and I feel comfortable with the answers that I was given, that East River will act in the best interest of the city of Madison should a dispute arise over the condition of equipment, so.
okay. Very good. Chad, did you have anything you wanted to add or to that?
Nope.
Okay, or David?
I've reviewed the agreement and I'm certainly comfortable with it.
Okay. Very good. Other
Commissioner
questions?
Corbin, anything that your comments on your part?
I forget he's here.
No,
Sits-
Brad went through this, I guess I read through it, pretty standard agreement that he's signing with all their system, so here's what it is.
Very good.
Yep, no,
Make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement between East River Electric Power Cooperative Incorporated and the Network Transmission Service.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Resolution number 2016-5, approve the agreement for network transmission service. And again, Brad, would you like to address that?
That's the same agreement, basically. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign it, and I apologize, we probably could have got that before we had the last motion, but a little redundancy isn't gonna hurt anything. But this is the actual resolution that does authorize and actually require the mayor to sign the agreement for network
I have it
transmission.
backwards,
service.
sorry, I'll take blame for that.
That's all right.
Yeah, it seems like
But I should have caught it at the time, but that's all right. It's, but it's the same thing, and the only thing I didn't mention, you know, we did have a question about the term on the agreement, and the reason that the term on the agreement seems unusual is the original agreement was for 10 years, and it would automatically, you know, refire, if you will, or would be extended by 10 years at the end of that 10 years unless somebody, you know, had an objection. We have, we're 4 years in, so we got 6 years left on this one. it was felt that at this time that we might as well have that extended out, so it's 16 years on this one, so that's something I failed to mention. But that's why it's such an unusual length, is because we were partway through an initial term, and it was felt that if you're gonna modify it, you might as well modify it for a longer period of time, so that's what happened.
And it takes it out to 2033, if I remember right.
Yeah, at the end of 2032, if I remember right, something like that.
Yeah, yep, somewhere in that neighborhood, so.
When you say in case someone had a significant objection to going forward, I mean, how would we designate that? How would we know?
There's terms in there for, if you were wanting to
Okay.
get out of that term.
Okay,
you know,
there are
that transmission
definitive
agreement.
terms then?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I think it's important for people to know that, especially me. That being said, if there are no other questions about this, I think we might as well have a resolution number. I'll make a motion for item number 2, resolution number 2016-5, to approve an agreement for the network transmission service. Correct?
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 3, authorize the mayor to sign the consent to sublease from Randy Weezy to Jack Mater for the Madison Municipal Airport agricultural land. Chad, would you want to address that?
Yes, I can say a few things about that. Thank you, Your Honor. With the construction project upcoming on the airport, and the permanent installation of a detention pond, there's some changes to the cropping available acres, but then also because of the wetland hazards as deemed by FAA and some subunits, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, et cetera, we are not able to utilize row crops on the airport at this time. And so this has been brought to the attention of the airport board. When the wildlife hazard management plan was approved a while back, the city agreed to this. And once the environmental assessment was finalized last summer, then we had to abide by that. And so we didn't know if we'd even get alfalfa cropping on it this year, but we were able to work it out and receive some drawings. As KLJ had been developing the drawings, they've been able to identify areas that will likely be impacted by the construction, and we are going to incorporate into the plans to have the contractor avoid the newly planted areas that are available for planting to alfalfa. So you'll see an exhibit in here that attached and referenced in it that shows the cropping land area available. That is for alfalfa only, and that's about 129 acres. That's my major role in this process was trying to coordinate all those different things and talk in conjunction with the airport board and the airport manager and the commission, and at least some members of the commission who are liaisons to the airport board. And then as far as the lease, I didn't have a lot to do with the lease itself.
I can address that.
Okay, sure. So I would submit that. If there's any questions on that part that I helped in, I'd try to answer them.
Yeah, Randy Weezy was in a 2-year lease in that for cropping. But since the FAA says that we have to change from cropping to alfalfa, he said that does not fit into his farming operation. He didn't have the equipment and that, necessary to tackle that. But he visited with Jack Mater, and Jack Mater was wanting to, take the remainder as a sublet from Randy to finish out 2016, and Jack has the equipment and does do alfalfa cropping. So that's what this is just authorizing Jack Mater to be the sublessee for 129 acres, which then will finish out the contract for Randy Weezy in 2016.
That's correct. It's important to note that we're just consenting to it. The original lease required that we
Yes.
consent to any subleasing, and that's what we're doing. They
Yes.
have their arrangement, and we're simply allowing Mr. Mater to stand in the shoes of Mr. Weezy.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, Chad?
The only thing I wanted to point out is that some of the terms of the lease are slightly tweaked in that the non-allowance of the row crops. That's a clear understanding, I think, of Mr. Mater, correct?
Yeah,
I would
yes.
say that that's accurate.
Yes.
Okay.
And then also the other adjustment is that, the cash rent is substantially reduced for alfalfa and for the reduction in acres available to farm.
And we recognize that could be coming. We all
Yes.
knew
We did.
that.
It was
We
in
did.
the
We
original
did.
lease,
It was in
too.
the original lease, so
Yep.
it's just really contemplated again in the consenting of the sublease.
Yes.
So it's something we saw coming,
Yep.
or that could come and did.
It did.
And now we're consenting to it, so
Mhm.
the total amount due may change. But,
Yes.
It's important to know legally that if for some reason Mr. Mater doesn't pay it, Mr. Weezy's still on the hook.
Yes.
The city has two places to look here to recover what we believe the rent should be for next year.
Yeah. And they've talked about it, and in fact, they talked about it, in the process before they contacted me, and then we moved forward from there. So it's very good for the city and for Mr. Weezy and for Mr. Mater, and so it'll finish out the 2016 contract, and then in 2017, then it'll be revisited as a new contract with whomever is available at that time.
Yeah, the city will have to follow the statutory leasing procedures at that time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the other important thing to point out, maybe Jen can elaborate, but I think another good part of this is that there was not any revenue incorporated into the budget for cropping at all this year, so. In previous years, it had been a different number, but.
Yes.
Last year, we had put it to zero to be
We
conservative.
put it at zero
Right.
because the FAA was not really giving us exactly what we could and couldn't do,
Right.
other than we couldn't row crop it.
Right, so we'll be able to gain
So-
some more revenue.
Yes.
Than what is anticipated.
Yes. So this will be an enhancement to the current budget. So,
The motion should
Questions or
be
comments?
To approve the consent to sublease.
I move to authorize the mayor to sign the consent to sublease between Randy Reed and Jack Mater, the Madison Municipal Airport agricultural land. Amen.
Just for 2016, right?
yeah, the contract
Yeah,
ends in
okay.
2016, so.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no announcements, no executive session, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. And travel safe, Jeremiah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Going up, Corbin.
Yep. You're getting a little harassment from the radio station.
Oh, good.
So, all right, with that, I'll turn this off and we'll talk to you when you get back.
Sounds good.
All right, bye-bye. Very good.